Today's video is brought to you by Slay the Brother. My name is Killtrap, my twin Soviet Green and I make videos about Magic the Gathering. In today's video I want to go over kind of a deck tech about using Leyline of Resonance inside of the Historic format. You know, Historic is kind of powerful, more powerful than like Explorer is, but definitely not as powerful as Modern per se. There's already plenty of decks with turn 2 win conditions or win combos in Historic, and I already have a Gruul version of one that this is getting put into. So we're going to start off with Mono Red though, because this means now Mono Red finally has a turn 2 win condition in Historic. If there was one before this, I guess I just wasn't aware of it. But I don't think Mono Red had a turn 2 win in Historic. But now since the win condition is in Standard, it is inherently also in Historic. So one advantage we have in Historic is Reckless Charge. Now sure, it doesn't have the cool instant speed access that Felonious Rage has, as we see in Standard, but is an extra damage. And also it has Flashback, so we can keep using it for recursion. We also get Ancestral Anger back, which, being if I'm dropping the green out of this, I'm not going to be running Audacity. This works a whole hell of a lot better for our deck than Might of the Meek. I can't believe I forgot how to say what that card was called. Basically, +1/+0 in Trample and to draw a card. If we get to cast this a second time, though, it's going to be +2/+0 in Trample and draw a card. So these are two common cards you'll see from aggressive decks, especially red decks in Standard. In Historic, and they really are good cards. So that's like a little bit of an edge that this deck has that a red deck wins in Standard doesn't have access to. Now you'll notice our creatures for my brew are almost exactly exclusively Standard creatures. So we have Scampy, we have Heartfire Hero, Monastery Swift Spear, and Slickshot Show Off. These are all going to be in the other deck as well. The only thing we have here that's Historic exclusive is Dreadhorde Arcanist. Dreadhorde Arcanist is awesome for this kind of deck because now we get to pull stuff back out of our graveyard that we've already cast twice before. And we get if we have Leyline of Resonance out there, the copies trigger as well. So say it's turn 3, we drop Dreadhorde Arcanist. Then we hit them with a Reckless Charge. If we have Leyline of Resonance out, that's another Reckless Charge, either on them or another creature. When they attack, rinse, wash, repeat. We just cast the same spell 4 times. 4 fucking times. That's awesome. I only have 2 copies of him in this deck because I prefer to only run 18 creatures. If you were the type of player running 20, obviously you would bump up your Dreadhorde Arcanist. So the interesting thing about running these decks in Historic is, first of all, they're almost exclusively Standard. We could literally swap out our non-standard cards for standard cards and probably not lose that much of our win rate. But what we do get that Standard doesn't have is lands that deal damage. And this is very important. As you see here, we only win because we can sack our land. They hit us with a board wipe. Oh no, we can't deal damage. Guess again. We have Shock on a Stick through Barbarian Ring. I have 4 full copies in here because we can afford to have the 4 full copies. I would recommend 2 copies of maybe Den of the Bugbear or your preferred go-to creature land. I like this one because as long as it's the first or second land to enter play, it's untapped. It doesn't deal damage to you. And for 4 mana, this thing can become a 3/2. So, I know for us in Historic, having 5 mana, because we need this untapped also, having 5 lands untapped is quite hefty. Don't get me wrong. This is kind of more one of those. This would work great in the best of 3 situations. So best of 1, maybe you don't need it, but I like it. It's kind of cheeky, and I always want to be prepared for the long run. Shamefully, I cannot have a full playset. I would recommend having 8, just in case you have to cast this Callous Sellsword. Obviously, there's better split lands for Historic as well. So, this is just all I could muster up for Rakdos. I don't play them that much, so I'm not as entrenched in Historic as I would like to be outside of Gruul and a few other archetypes. But yeah, one thing this thing does is turn inside out is definitely Historic worthy. One cool thing about turn inside out is the Manifest Dread mechanic when the creature dies. Now, Mono Black doesn't have many ways to dodge removal. Felonious Rage is a nice thing you see in Standard where people get the 2/2 token out of it. Now we can Manifest Dread as well, which can sometimes give us a creature that will be very valuable to us out of our deck that will actually guarantee us the win. If we end up hitting a Heartfire Hero or a Scamp out of this, then that's only power. Like, as you can see from the examples I've just played, that luck, that little bit of luck to hit a Heartfire Hero or a Scamp off of turn Inside Out's Manifest Dread was what ended up winning us the game at the end of the day. So if we move to the Gruul version, this is literally just like the Red Deck's Win version, except for instead of having a Reckless Charge, we have Scale Up in addition. So now we don't just need to rely on Leyline of Resonance to get a turn 2 win. We can still get it if we have Scale Up and Heartfire Hero in play. Or if they play a Shockland, eat the 2 damage, we can still do it with a Scamp, which is awesome. That's always very exciting to do when you see they dealt the damage themselves. And as you can see here, this will lock people out. Premature sacrificing when it doesn't kill them, it doesn't matter. As long as it locks them out of playing a land that maybe deals 3 damage to them so that they don't throw down their Goblin Charbelcher. But regardless, same setup with creatures here. In Gruul, I love Audacity, but we got to replace it with Ancestral Anger, lose a little bit of damage, just because if we have Leyline of Resonance out, we get so much more card advantage out of it. It just really is worth it. And then if you hit that with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, yeah, especially if you have both of them, that's 4 cards from 1 mana basically. That's excessive card advantage. You really don't need that, but it's nice to have. So I honestly think the Gruul version is just a little better, just because we have this scale up for the more consistent win condition. But because my lands are so kind of warped and twisted here, and I'm tired of always eating damage, I didn't throw in the Barbarian Ring in this version. Now, if I go to my actual go-to historic Burn Together deck, as we will, then you're going to see, I do have 3 copies of Barbarian Ring in here. I still only have 2 Forest. And I just take this deck a little more seriously, I guess. Alright, so now if we go to look at the stats for these decks a little bit. And see, like I said, 100% of my Burn Together, see? Doesn't matter, it's only 3 matches, 100%. This thing was like a 65, 70. I think it got knocked down to 65 at one point, and we brought it back up to like 67 before the season reset. But yeah, see, I've only done 8 matches with this one. 75 out of 8 after 8 matches, that's not bad. We've only done 13 matches with the other version, and it's at 69% win rate. That's not bad. This is the standard version. One of those matches, I scooped. They were AFK, and I was streaming. Can't do that shit. So technically, that's a 66% win rate, but, who the fuck cares about 1%? So what's crazy about these decks, though, is when as I stated earlier, when you compare them to a standard deck, it's basically just like we've taken the shell of a mono-red deck wins in standard and just tweaked it slightly so that it can actually compete on historic, even though, to be honest, this could probably still compete in historic, which is saying a lot about the recent power level increase we've had. Now, a lot of people in these decks, I've seen some deck lists where people run 20, 20, 20. Now, that may have worked before. That may have worked before when we didn't have Leyline of Resonance built into your deck. I've always been running 18 creatures, 18 lands, the rest non-creature. So it wasn't that hard for me to fit in Leyline of Resonance and not feel like my balance was disturbed that much. Because right here, if I go at my balance for my mono-red version, I have 22 creatures because just because Callous Sellsword counts as a creature. And it is nice to be able to play them, though, because sometimes you need to. I scoff at it occasionally, but then I'm humbled every time I have no other creatures in my hand to play but a Callous Sellsword, and it gets me the fucking win. But yeah, see, so technically we have 18 creatures, not counting them. We have 16 instants and sorceries, and and 4 copies of Leyline of Resonance. Well, I guess we have 20 instants and sorceries. So I would imagine, though, that if you're used to running 20 across the board, figuring out how to tweak to make that Leyline of Resonance fit maybe your deck or your personal playstyle would be a little harder. So I really do recommend cutting down those creatures a little bit, cutting down those lands a little bit. You want to keep as many non-creatures as possible. I don't like those people that run 14 creatures, 16 creatures in a deck. You can get by with 16, But I'm not about that life with the 14 creature, man. Like, they better all have hexproof if you're going to be throwing that at me. What you know, the Boggle decks are fun. I should have done that with my enchantments. I just didn't think it was going to work, but apparently it works. Ye a little faith. But yeah, this deck definitely provides what you need in Historic to actually climb up and get higher in the rank. As you see, I just hit 1707 in the fucking ranks. And I'm just kind of just screwing around here with mainly standard stuff once again. So yeah, thank you for watching today's video. I hope this was at least a little bit educational for you, whether or not you're trying to make your own brew or, you know, you want to copy and paste. Just to kind of climb up the ladder real quick and then do what I'm going to do and switch to best of 3 after you rank up to Mythic in best of 1. But yes, thank you for watching. Please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. Check out some of our other decks we're working on. I keep talking up Nick's Golgari deck, and you will see why the motherfucker smacks.